Paul, obviously there was some disappointing news with the future of Barry being thrown out of the EFL. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm really disappointed and also so upset for all those people at Barry, the supporters, the players, the staff, and 130 plus years of history. I mean, it seems so unnecessary, but there are good grounds for it. It's come to this, and the EFL have to do what they have to do. But ownership of football clubs is so important. Stability and vision and consistency and the spirit of why you own a football club is really important. So we are disappointed and empathise totally, and for all those people at Barry have lost their football club in the Football League.
It's never the case of it being down to one person or one particular reason. It's always, a multitude of things and a multitude of people and mistakes made here, there, and everywhere through recent history. Is there anything that can be put in place to prevent these things, or do you think it's just something that happens in business?
I can't answer that because I don't know exactly what goes on when someone buys a football club. I know we hear of the fit test, the fits and what's it called again?
The fit and proper persons test.
Yeah, I can start again. Yeah, but I know we hear about the fit and proper person test when it comes to someone owning a football club, but I don't know in total all the ins and outs of it. So it's hard for me to comment on that, other than maybe we need to improve it a bit. But it's not always the last person holding the baby. There's maybe an accumulation of decisions over a period of time. So making lots and lots of sensible decisions over a long period of time is the way football clubs should be run. So again, it is not maybe the moment to criticise. I think it's more a moment to show empathy and sadness for a football club that I've been to many a time. I've probably played a dozen games there over my time as a manager, so I know it very well. There's some very good people there, and always a great, difficult place to have played. So disappointed for all those people that have now suddenly found themselves without a football club to support this weekend.
And similar things happening up the road at Bolton as well. It's a pretty scary time at the moment in football, isn't it?
It is, and there's a shift. I do debate this when I hear people discussing football about what's happened in the past and the history, and we have to be respectful of history and all those sort of things. But also, it's about what happens in the future. And football, like all other sports, needs to be contemporary in the way it views its industry, its sport, the entertainment, the spectator, the viewer, the people that pay money. And yes, we have to have a respect and a consideration of the past. And I'm romantic when it comes to the history of the game, but I also think we need to continue to move forward and be contemporary. And with that, also the business, how that relates to the way you run your club, your business within the football industry. So, there's a bit of both there, and it is about the future. And if there are, as you mentioned, scary times currently with football clubs, well, maybe it's a shift in towards, we have to be accountable for the way we run our businesses.
Does spending money, as a manager, you're obviously told what your budget is, and you try and spend within that. Does that ever come into your mind that it, if you do go out and spend wildly, that it can affect massively what else happens at the football club?
But managers will only spend what they've been given, and they don't just. Maybe it does. I've never been able to, or would even dream of spending money that I haven't been given permission to spend. So it comes from the owner, the CEO, the owner, the chairman, whatever it is. It starts there. The manager may be more persuasive than the other, but ultimately, a contract has to be signed off by more than just a manager. There's more than one signatory on a contract. Whether it's the club secretary, whether it's the owner, there's always someone who needs to, and often it's not the manager. There's two other people. It's not the manager who sign a contract. So when it comes to spending money, but I think that's just the sharp end of it. There's money. There's a business there that ultimately provides funds for the football club and the players and the performance level. but there's a very there's lots of layers of business that go into creating a sustainable, considered football club. So I've always had the consideration that when I spend money, I'm spending money that how would I spend this if it were my own money, and that's how I do it. But every club's different. Every club has their own personality, and when you have change of ownership regularly, then maybe things get lost there somewhere.
Perhaps onto a happier topic. Tuesday night's Carabao Cup win. Great way to respond from the weekend, wasn't it? Really
pleasing, some really good performances. We needed it after the disappointment of Saturday. We scored 4 goals. We looked more like ourselves, and that was actually the intent that was required. It was not too many details in there. It was just we need to perform and function like the team that we visualise ourselves being, and we were last night.
Something that Sam Nambe said I thought was quite poignant from him, actually. He said he had to remain very patient in getting his first goal for MK Dons. I think it was 2 years after his debut. But what he now says is that it shows a pathway between the academy and the first team, and that patience will eventually pay off if you're good enough.
Absolutely, and if there's a will at the club to make it work. I've had plenty of experience of developing young players and giving them their chance. More importantly, it's not just making them better players, but then there has to be a chance. And young professionals, it's often into their sort of 3rd or 4th year that the opportunities suddenly arise, because it's not about their talent or the 1 or 2 bits of skill they bring to the team. It's about them becoming selectable. So actually take away those special talents they have and look at the rest of the game. Are they selectable? Are they selectable to play off the bench, or selectable to play 95 minutes in any game, winning, losing, uphill, downhill, in the rain, in the sun, all those sort of things? And you look at that and say, are they selectable? And often that takes 2 or 3 years. You get the odd special talent that's so strong that they burst their way through. But often it's a player in their 2nd or 3rd or even 4th year as a professional that begin to garner all those attributes which make them selectable. But then the club, the manager, the wider view has to consider that it's worth investing for 3 or 4 years for those players to start making their way through. You can't just say first year professional, is he good enough? There may be skills that are good enough, but they have to be selectable. And it's a really good example. So there's Sam, and Sam's still got a lot to do, but he's been patient. He's at the club, trying his very best. He's motivated. He's got some specific skills he brings to the team, and he's learning how to become selectable in everything else. And that's the best way to describe this. So well done, Sam. Well done, the academy, for another player coming through to make contributing on the first team field, but also to the will of the club to have the patience with Sam. Patience goes both ways.
Starts as well for Reece Healey and Alex Gilby. Are they now nearing that first league start for you?
Yes. Yeah, still not. His first 90 minutes, Alex Gilby has played since March.
I think. Yeah.
Reece Healey, I don't know when. It's a long time.
Could well have been January for you.
Yeah. So it's the first time they've started games. Obviously, Reece didn't do the 90. So I'm going to temper my enthusiasm by saying, it's the first one. But yeah, getting closer, and they both contributed hugely last night, and they played at the right tempo. So anyone can get through 90 minutes, but you've got to play at the sufficient level of intensity, and Alex did that last night.
Mel Gwinnett mentioned pre-season that it was still sort of open house for whether or not you were going to have a number one goalkeeper, and Stuart Moore made some very good saves last night and mentioned that he was quite disappointed not to be starting the season. Is that a good thing for you, that you've got players who are disappointed not to be picked in the first team?
Yeah, it is. It also shows that the doors are open for them. They don't feel that they are not seen. So part of that is the fact that we are always willing to entertain their progress into the team, and and Mel's job is to make Lee so considerable in his performance that there's no opportunity for Stu. At the same time, he's trying to train Stuart to get into the team. So, but that's how a goalkeeper department functions. And Stuart played extremely well last night. He's a very, very strong and athletic goalkeeper. So they better both be on their toes, haven't they?
Accrington this weekend, another one of these teams that's come up from League Two a few years ago, and I think most people will have expected them to almost fall out of the division straight away, but they've managed to establish themselves.
I mean, John knows what he's doing. I've said it when they were in League Two a few years ago. I said John Coleman is one of those managers. He knows what he's doing. He knows how his team should function. He encourages them to do so. He recruits off the back of it. They play a certain way. They are what they are. They're very good at it. When they get into a rhythm, they're very hard to beat, as they showed a couple of years ago getting promoted from League Two. He's got a knack of picking up talented players and maximising their performance. I always like playing against them, watching them. They have got some real flow to their game. He plays football in the right way. There's no doubt about it. And him and Jimmy Bell have been together as a duo for a long time. They know what they want from their players. Admire them greatly. Had plenty of tough games, winning and losing against Accrington. They seem to be, nothing's changed. They have those same traits in their team. He will always have the difficulty of losing his better players at certain times. I don't know what that feels like when bigger clubs come looking. But again, he's gone up with raw momentum into League One last year, done extremely well, and he'll be looking to do the same thing again this year. So, a difficult place to play. Enjoy it there, but I've also had some really tough days there. So, it's going to be a good challenge. It'll be nice to see John and Jimmy.
The transfer window shuts. I think it's next Monday, isn't it? Any movement there? Are you expecting a long day or?
No. There won't be a lot going on. I always keep my mind open to something that might pop up that we think would improve things with the blessing of Peter, if he considers it the right thing to do. That's our job. That's Liam Sweeting, as head of recruitment, his job to continually provide me with that opportunity, and then we'll discuss it as a management team with the chairman, with Andrew Cullen as chief exec, and see whether it's something we'd like to do. And it's not about whether we've lost a few games or whether we haven't scored a goal or conceded goals. It's about how it all ties into how we think and visualise we all go forward over the next 20 games to the January window. So maybe, but maybe not.